This is Dana from Master Land Investing. Thank you guys for tuning in. I just recently created a video, I think we've posted already, talking about, excuse me, another avenue for land investors, which was going to tax deed sales. And I basically talked about how that works, how you can find them in your community, how to acquire the list online to see what's available coming up in the next quarter or next month on your local tax deed sales. What this video is about is I want to talk about another way to take advantage of tax deed sales. It goes back to one of my lessons talking about being a creative land investor, which is key in any business. But with land investing, the more creative you can be, think outside the box, be a problem solver, it'll be a great asset to you guys. In the past, when I've done these tax deed sales, and I didn't always do it, I've done it more recently in the last couple I participated in, and you can even get the information online, is typically where I live, they were once every couple of months. Now, this time in the market, they're not quite as often. But when you find a particular area and you get the tax deed sale list, it's going to give you a list of properties. You're going to go ahead and filter that list and see which ones pertain to what you might be interested in for the vacant land part of it. When you do that, you go ahead and print out that information. And the way to get creative with that is there's one way you can go online or go to the courthouse or the tax office and sit down and participate, however they run it, whether it's online or in-house. But another way to do it and think outside the box is get that information and contact, if you can, the people that are losing their property to a tax deed sale. Now, the way it works in the counties is when someone falls delinquent in their taxes, they're sent a notice every year that they're late. They get a notice of proposed tax bill at the end of the year, and then it tells them if you don't pay by this date, you pay a penalty up to about 3 or 4 months past, and that's basically what your penalties would be, so you incur a larger cost each year if you don't pay them. Every year they have tax certificate sales. People bid on that debt, they pay it, and they bid on the interest. Usually starts at 18% and goes down. But that being said, anyways, after 3 or 4 years, depends on the area, the persons that hold the tax certificate can apply for a tax deed sale. Gets approved, it goes to the tax deed sale in the county. What happens is part of the requirements of that county before a tax deed sale is to notify that person that owns the property that their property is going to go to a tax deed sale. They'll lose the property if they don't pay up the penalties and the current tax up to date. They generally have up to just about the minute of the tax deed sale to recoup their property, pay everything up to date, what is due. But a lot of times I've seen that the reason the person didn't respond to the notice from a tax deed sale is it's not the county's obligation or duty to do everything in their power to find that person. What they do is they generally will send a letter, a notification to the address that was last on file for that particular owner. They generally will post an ad in the newspaper in that community this person lives in, or even in the county, I think it is, notifying the readers that there's going to be a tax deed sale and that you may have a property that's going up for tax deed sale. That's their way to notify you that your property is going to be lost if you don't recoup it by paying the debt. What I've learned from my experience is the reason people don't respond and gather up the funds through any way they can find possible, save their valuable property a lot of times, is because they moved. Their address isn't what it was originally. They never spent the time to get a hold of the county, change their address. Life is what it is. They were busy. They lost track. They didn't think about it. Or they just weren't interested. What happens is, and I've known, and I haven't mentioned it in part of the lessons, but years ago I let some stuff go at tax deed sales when the market crashed. There was really no value in it. And other times I've seen people do it because they didn't have any interest, they didn't know what the true value of the property was, or they just didn't think they had the money to recoup the property. So what you want to do is you get that list, you filter the list, look at the properties you may be interested in. I've said it in the other lesson or the other video, do your due diligence, and then do everything you can to try to locate that particular or those particular owners of those properties you're interested in. I don't have the names of them, but there's some online services, same service that maybe a tracking service like a bounty hunter would use, or maybe local police force may use, but there's some services out there, if you're serious about this, that you can acquire, maybe pay a monthly fee, and it's a tracking service to find these particular owners, or even delegate it to somebody if you think the value in the property is there for you. What you do is what I've done in the past, and I haven't really worked it too much because I've been busy with other land avenues, but you go ahead and you contact these owners through the phone or through a letter, a handwritten letter to that person, let them know there's a property that they may own going up for a tax deed sale, and you're not sure of their circumstances, but you'd be willing to pay them a little fee. You understand they may not want the property anymore, they may not have the funds to save the property from the tax deed sale, but you'd be willing to give them a little walking money, and you'd be willing to send them over a quick claim or a warranty deed to that property, and you'd be willing to pay the taxes so that you could take possession of that property. It's another great way to take advantage of this whole land investing business. Not a lot of people do it. There's another couple avenues that I'm going to create videos for in the near future pertaining to tax certificate and tax deed sales. But I just think that's a great opportunity for someone that wants to put a little time. Like I've always said, build a team up. You could find someone that you could delegate that part of the task to. I'm sure it wouldn't be very expensive. You could even throw them a piece of the pie once they located that particular owner and you closed the deal. But keep that in mind if you're dealing with tax deed sales. I recently had somebody that was real interested, that's one of our followers, reach out to me. She had mentioned that that's how she's starting her business. She's been acquiring a bunch of knowledge and she's doing tax deed sales. So I decided to create the video. I wanted to make sure she was able to see the video, get the information. I was hoping it was going to be helpful to her as well as anybody else interested in tax deed sales. So always think outside the box, be creative, be a problem solver, don't be greedy. You may find that you notify someone that has a tax deed property, weren't aware of it, and they say, well, I appreciate it, I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and pay the debt and recoup the property. You may have that circumstance arise, but generally, if you become proficient at it, it's part of your land investing strategy, you'll do well with this option. So thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate your time as always. Please go out there and inspire someone today if you can. Don't be greedy, be generous with your time. Thanks again, guys. Look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.